Good morning, my dear students, and welcome back to the online classes. I hope your exams are rather easy for you, and I think you have studied well. So we begin the next topic of English language, that is active and passive voice. I hope you have already learned the definition and the rules regarding this particular topic called active and passive voice. Still, to revise with you, we will begin with the definition of active and passive voice. So what do you mean by the active voice? The definition of active voice. How to define the active voice? The active voice is defined as in a subject in a sentence when the subject is the doer of the action, and that is known as active voice. If it is active voice, in that particular sentence the subject is the doer of that particular action. Let's go through some examples and I will make you understand it better. Take the first example, I write a letter. Subject is I, verb is write, object is a letter. In this particular example, the action called write is done by the subject called I. So the doer of action, when the subject is the doer of the action, that is the definition of active voice. In this particular example, I, that is a subject, is the one who does the particular action called writing. Let's take one more example. He killed a snake. Subject is he, verb is killed, object is a snake. In this particular example, the action called killing is done by the subject, that is called he. So he is a subject that does the particular action called killing a snake. So that's how you define the term called active voice, when the subject is the doer of the action, which means the action will be done by the subject. Now let's take the next one, that is the passive voice. How to define the passive voice? When the subject is a receiver of the action and the focus is on the action that is done. Here the focus is not on the particular subject, here the focus is on the particular action that is done. I'll make you understand with examples. A letter is written by me. Subject is a letter, verb is written, object is by me. In the particular example, the focus is on the action that is done. What is the action? A letter is written. So the subject is the receiver of the particular action. When the subject becomes the receiver of the action, that is known as passive voice. Or when we focus on the action that is happening in a sentence, that is known as passive voice. Let's take another example. A snake was killed by me. Subject is a snake, verb is was killed, object is by me. So in this particular example, the focus is on the action that is done. What is a particular action? That is was killing. In this particular example, the subject is the receiver of the particular action. I hope you have understood the definition of active and passive voice. The active voice is a subject that is doing the action. The passive voice, the subject is the receiver of the action, or we are focusing on the action in a particular sentence. I hope you are very clear with the definition of active and passive voice. There is a big difference between active voice and passive voice. Now we move on to the main changes that you need to keep in mind when you are converting an active voice into passive voice. The first one, the subject of the active voice will be changed into the object of the passive voice, which means the subject of the active voice will be changed into the object of the passive voice. Second, the object of the active voice will be changed into the subject of a passive voice. Third one, verb of the active voice is changed into past participle of the verb. As you know, there are three forms for the verb: first form, second form and third form. So in the passive voice, we always use the third form of the verb or the past participle of the verb. And the last one we'll have to denote the agent, we'll have to use a word called buy. So these are the 4 changes that you will have to keep in mind when you are converting an active voice into passive voice. Subject becomes the object in the passive voice. Object of the active voice becomes the subject of the passive voice. Verb of the active voice will be past participle of the verb in the passive voice and the use of buy. I hope you are clear with the definition of active and passive voice and the main changes that you need to keep in mind when you are converting the active voice into passive voice. So remember these 4 basic changes that you will have to keep in mind. So please go through the notes once again and try to understand it better. Thank you.